Hey, this is Anney.
And Samantha.
And welcome to Stuff I Never Told You, a production of iHeartRadio.
Y'all, if you haven't heard, I recently bought a new car. Right, Anney? My Elantra was one of the many that had the recall and had to get a new engine. It stalled out. It was a whole thing. And the way the government has been doing its thing and all the tariffs, which, by the way, I just saw a report saying that Ford went in the hole because all the tariffs took out all the profits, even though Ford is supposed to be, locally a local car dealership where they're supposed to build here in the U.S., but they get all of their materials outside of the U.S. And apparently, again, the administration has taxed the hell out of steel and all of the such for the car industry is bombed. So whatever is supposed to be helping is not helping. But with that, because of that, I actually got into a really anxious mode in trying to buy a car because I could. If you don't know Atlanta well, and especially if you're not living in a nice area, which is fairly expensive to do, as again, I've also bought a house, walking is not a thing. Transit is not really a thing. So it is a very heavily relied upon cars. And we do well because in our household, we only have one, and we try to, we've done well with that. But that's even a struggle, honestly, because it is so heavily carpool / commuting, all of the things have happened. And when I worked at DJJ, I drove every day. It was a whole thing. Thank goodness we are now into working from home, so that's all good. But with that meant I needed a car. I needed a reliable car. I needed to make sure that I got, all these things. The interest rates are crazy. If y'all know, it has spiked and it doesn't look like it's going down. Whatever has happened after all of our economy busting, their solution, instead of helping people, they're like, we're going to help corporations. So they're able to keep with this level of high interest and don't care about selling anything because they care more about profits than anything else. And to do so, they must go after the consumers, as you know. So with that, I decided, okay, let me buy a car. I want to do it before all the tariffs have hit because it hadn't hit quite yet. We knew it was coming, but no one was really been too anxious about it, as in raising prices as of yet, unless you're going to Toyota. Toyota gives no shits. They're like, people want our car, we're going to hike up the prices, and we will never negotiate. So with that, I decided that I would go on this journey of the very overwhelmingly anxious decision of purchasing a new car. And I will say, as an awkward introvert who hates interacting with strangers, this was a nightmare for me. Y'all know my reaction is to get stressed and sleepy. I was so sleepy, y'all. I was so sleepy. And I hate to admit it, but my partner, who is a man, was way better at this than me. First of all, he's anxious, but he's not as much of an introvert as I am. And even though my soul felt like it was shriveling into oblivion as they tried to negotiate, because we went to several dealerships, including Toyota, BT Dubs. I'm not being sponsored by any of these companies, which we have done a few ads for some of these companies, but Subaru is not one of them, which I feel like Subaru should be calling me. Hello. Anyway, but all that to say is through all the negotiations, through the 3 or 4 actual dealerships, and y'all, I've been months in the making of looking up and researching things. And if you know about it and you go to a dealership, they expect you to walk out with a car. So it's so stressful anyway. You can't just shop around. It's a thing. I've watched videos. I have done all the things. So in the end, we finally decided on Subaru. And I will say it was pretty upfront and no haggle process. There was still things that we did haggle about. But man, I hated this whole thing, which is why I fell for the high interest rate a long time ago. And because of the process of Carvana, I loved it. I didn't talk to anybody. They brought me the car. I had a week to test drive, and if I wanted to take it back. Which, by the way, apparently this company is not doing well. I think they've filed bankruptcy a few times, and everybody was so sure that they would shut down, but they haven't yet. They still have a little
I see them. Yeah,
the conveyor belt,
things.
yeah. It's like a snack machine. but for
Yeah.
cars.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, but with that long, drawn out story, and shout out to Demir, who was the one who helped us throughout. And he did. He was just very upfront, like, this is this, this is this, this is this. And it was quite funny because we also talked about Tesla. So I feel like if there's an opposite to Tesla, it'd be Subaru in my mind. But anyway, apparently it's Rivian, according to the electric car people. But what do I know? Again, none of these are sponsors, so please don't come after me. But with all that long, drawn-out backstory, of course, with all of that, I immediately started getting Subaru content on my FYP. Y'all, it's a community. So Jeep has a community. Subaru has a community. They have Miata. I don't know if you know about the Miata. They have a giant community. Like it's an interesting thing about cars. They have very loyal communities to the point. So I immediately started getting content about Subaru. Of course, when I was first driving the car, Anney, you had ridden with me more than my partner had at one point, and you were like, as it should be. And I was like, you are correct. It should always be two women in the front, and one of us should be bisexual and queer. At the very least, if not both. But but all that to say, because of all of this, you know that it's not a surprise. It definitely leans into the whole, you're most likely a lesbian if you're driving this car, or really outdoorsy. I'm neither, but I am about a good brand. I will say that. So again, with all of this, I learned that Subaru is really for the gays. When people say they're for the gays, it really is, as they say. And it was a purposeful marketing strategy. And I was like, you know what? I needed to see this. I need to talk about this, because in the time and frame of everybody backing out of being inclusive, yes, Target, we're looking at you, and many brands just capitalizing on a moment instead of an actual cause, I thought it was interesting to talk about this. And I know there were a few other brands that may be in that same lens, but I could not find many. IKEA, I think, had gotten some accolades in the early 90s because they did the same thing, which is not too surprising. But I despise IKEA, not because of the store, but because of the way it sucks my soul as well. Like, walking into an IKEA feels like I'm being punished on the third level of hell. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? The only thing that redeems it usually is a cinnamon roll. And every time I've gone, they've run out. So that place is cursed to me. Cursed. So talking about Subaru specifically, again, not sponsored. Hello, I need some cute things. Call me. So I feel like old producer of the show, Andrew, would also agree, because he is a Subaru dude. He loves his Subaru. Yes, he loves his Crosstrek. He and I talked about it when I first bought it. Anyway, so here's a bit from a 2016 article from The Atlantic. Quote, in the 1990s, Subaru's unique selling point was that the company increasingly made all-wheel drive standards on all its cars. When the company's marketers went searching for people willing to pay a premium for all-wheel drive, they identified 4 groups who were responsible for half of the company's American sales: teachers and educators, healthcare professionals, IT professionals, and outdoorsy types. Then they discovered a 5th: lesbians. Quote, when we did the research, we found pockets of the country like Northampton, Massachusetts, and Portland, Oregon, where the head of the household would be a single person, and often a woman, says Tim Bennett, who was the company's director of advertising at the time. When marketers talked to these customers, they realized these women buying Subarus were lesbians. So, y'all, this is a well-earned rumor. Like, this is kind of one of those things. And they were like, wait, no, we really are for the gays. And because they were smart, they went on to focus on these 5 groups. They realized, let's go to the loyal ones, making ads and commercials specifically targeting them. And even with the senior managers who weren't completely on board at the time, being more appealing to lesbians, like actually focusing, the company did it anyway. Even, again, it was around the same time as Don't Ask, Don't Tell. And that was kind of the accepted idea. Like, don't put it in our faces, which is annoying. Like, it's like no one's putting it in your faces. You're putting it in your own face because you're taking away rights. But whatever. So it was during this time where everybody was like, yeah, you can be gay, but just don't talk to us about that. And again, with that, the company understood that if they were to be loud and using the LGBTQIA to sell their products, they needed to be able to support the community within their organization. And the Atlantic continues with this. Subaru of America knew it had to support its gays and lesbian employees if it wanted to appeal to lesbian customers, so they scheduled a meeting with a senior Japanese executive to make the case for domestic partnership benefits. Again, so it's a Japanese company, all of y'all didn't know. A lot of people kind of attribute it to, I think, Australia because of the names of the car, like Outback,
Oh, yeah.
all of that.
Well, that
Wilderness,
is
all that.
interesting because
Yeah.
I went to
We
a
had that
Subaru
story.
dealership in Australia.
Because and my partner was like, it's Japanese. He was confused for a second because I kind of forgot, even though it's associated with rugged Outback like Australia.
Yes.
It's actually not. But anyway, Japanese company. So Bennett and his colleagues had prepared to argue their case at length, but the meeting lasted 20 seconds. The executive who had worked for Subaru in Canada already knew about benefits for same-sex couples. He said, yeah, that's fine. We did that in Canada years ago. Anything else, says Bennett. It was the easiest thing we did. So they were ready. They were ready to back it. They were already doing it in other countries. It made sense. And I love that. I love that they actually was like, yeah, we're going to go forward with this without even like a hesitation. Again, you got to love some of the niche ads they had. So Caitlin R. Weiner wrote in her Medium article, quote, the kind of ads that did end up being successful were those that included subtle, coded nods to lesbian culture. For example, a few ads showed Subarus with license plates that read Xena Lover, or LVR, a nod to Xena Warrior Princess, and P-Town, a reference to Provincetown, Massachusetts, which to this day is a popular gay vacation spot. Many ads had taglines there that were double entendres, like get out and stay out, a push for hikers and outdoor exercisers, with that, or a reference to coming out of the closet. Who's to say? Another tagline was, it's not a choice, it's the way we are built, referring to the car's construction with all-wheel drive, but not exclusively that. So again, we love Xena Warrior Princess here. We've talked about that. You still haven't watched it, have you?
No, I haven't. I thought about it though, because we've been discussing what we're going to watch, for movies. And we were talking about maybe doing a show. And I was like, we could do Xena Warrior Princess.
We could do some good episodes. Yeah, I would be down. So the agency Mole Ryan Nash, which actually specialized in gay marketing, they were part of this campaign. They were the ones that did this campaign. And they went from like fully open to tongue-in-cheek with their different ads. So they started out with like an obvious couple, a lesbian couple, but that wasn't as well accepted as these like niche ads. So they were like, okay, this works. Again, and much like those who love to decipher Taylor Swift hints, Anney, I'm looking at you. The Subaru audiences did the same. From the Atlantic article, again, they say, the delight among niche audience groups in, quote, decoding the hints in Subaru ads surprised the marketing team. And in the case of its gay-friendly ads, so did straight audiences' ignorance. While many gay and lesbian consumers loved the shout-outs and the license plates, straight people would only notice features like a bike rack. Poe, who helped come up with a license plates idea, says he held focus groups with straight audiences where he showed ads featuring gay couples. Even after an hour of talking about gay issues, they'd think a man was shopping with his uncle.
Wow. And how did they decide who's the uncle,
I don't know. I guess they thought one of them looked older. I guess it's better that it's uncle than not the father. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I do think it's funny that they were like having inside jokes about the straights, essentially. They were like, oh yeah, they don't get it. This is definitely for us. Of course, some backlash did come about. People were very upset, writing in notes saying that they're never going to buy the Subarus again, all these things. But it turns out, much like today, most of the complaints were from people who were never interested in buying a Subaru in the first place, or never even owned one, like would not even consider it. So it was kind of one of those things where we see people getting upset about things like, I don't know, going to gay clubs and be like, why does it have to be for gay people? You're like, you're at a gay club. What are you doing here? What are you doing? It's kind of like that same thing. Again, Subaru isn't the first company to create LGBTQIA-centered ads, but they were the first to openly, proudly do so and has continued to do so as well. And with that, they offered things like the Rainbow Card, which helped many different causes, including giving billions of dollars to things like HIV/AIDS research and LGBTQIA-centered causes. So they were very specific in what they were doing. Even today, they have options that you can donate through your purchase. They have times, and a lot of it, like I've seen with helping animals and such, Again, and though we know companies love to make money off of marginalized communities, again, what Subaru did at the time was a risk. And the fact that they have relatively stayed loyal to the community is nice to see. Like, they have not backed down. They continue to do so. There's no backing of like, oh no, we're not for the gays. Like, they proudly stand up that, and they're cool with that. Of course, they're all, again, stop saying helping with animals, about the ecosystem. And I say that like lightly because, again, there's still automotive that builds new cars, so that doesn't help the environment too much. And they don't have too many hybrid offerings. They are doing more that I've seen, but I don't think that's something that they've done really well. We'll say, but we'll see, And if you're wondering, they do have interesting accessories, which I have not gotten into yet. Like, I haven't purchased any of them, but I do lovingly call my car the Subaru.
She does, and I'm half convinced that's at least a part of the reason why you went with it.
I did, when we were going car shopping, I did note several of the things that I wanted were more affordable with Subarus. I will say that. So I did get to have it say, but I want a Subaru. And when we were talking about looking at Toyotas, I was like, but I can't say Subaru. It was a little disappointing to think of that. No one seems to appreciate that more than you and my partner, so I appreciate that you appreciate me. But yeah, so that's interesting. I will say again, this is not necessarily an endorsement. I've only had this car this year, and thus far I do love it, but I feel like because I had such an older model of a car that had a lot of issues, that anything was an upgrade. So I'm not a car person, so I don't know what to tell you other than, yes, I do love mine currently. But I'll come back to me in 5 years. Tell me if I'll tell you if it's lasted. So, but I did find this research interesting, and I do hope I can find more companies that have actually done well for communities like the queer communities, marginalized people in general. You don't see too many. So even though I'm not like, yay, capitalism, at least those who have good practices are good to see.
Yeah, and I think it paid off for them, and that's a lesson I wish other companies would learn, because it's funny that I never knew about all this ad campaign or anything, but I still knew it was associated with lesbians. And they have a loyal fan base. They have, like you said, they have people that are in part because of this. Like, that is my car company. They support me. I support them. I think that's worth a lot.
A win's a win.
It is. It is. Well, thanks for bringing this story. I didn't know about this. It's very interesting to us, Samantha. Listeners, if you have any thoughts about this, please write in and let us know. You can email us at hello@stuffwhatevertoldyou.com. You can find us on Blue Sky at Mom Stuff Podcast, or on Instagram and TikTok at Stuff I Never Told You. We're also on YouTube, and we have a book you can get wherever you get your books. Thanks as always to our super producer, Christina, our executive producer, Maya, and our contributor, Joey.
Thank you.
And thanks to you for listening. Stuff I Never Told You is a production by iHeartRadio. For more podcasts from iHeartRadio, you can check out the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen to your favorite shows.